In a quiet town where the night always seemed to hold a secret, there lived a man whose heart overflowed with gentle warmth and unwavering devotion. A man named Jonathan. His eyes, ever soft and kind, reflected an inner hope and the promise of endless love. Jonathan was known by everyone as the sweet, caring husband who would go to any lengths to keep his world intact. Yet, beneath the surface of his calm exterior, a maelstrom of emotions was gathering, waiting for the precise moment to shatter the fragile illusion of his perfect life. It was on a bright, unsuspecting morning that Jonathan's wife, Rebecca, suggested a vacation, an escape from the drudgery of everyday life, a retreat into nature where the gentle rustle of the trees and the whisper of the wind promised solace and new beginnings. Their destination was a secluded campsite by a pristine lake, an idyllic spot far removed from prying eyes and mundane routines. The plan was innocent enough, an opportunity for the couple to rediscover the spark of romance that had once burned fiercely. Yet, as the journey unfolded, subtle fissures began to appear in the foundation of their union. The campsite was a natural haven, bathed in the glow of golden sunlight and the soothing murmur of water lapping against the shore. Amid the chorus of chirping birds and the rustling of leaves, a mysterious stranger had already taken refuge there. His name was Alexander, a man whose presence was as enigmatic as the shadows that danced at dusk. With a piercing gaze and a charm that was impossible to ignore, Alexander exuded an almost magnetic allure that set him apart from the rest. Little did Jonathan know that this enigmatic figure would soon intertwine his fate with his own, catalyzing events that would alter the course of his life in unimaginable ways. Rebecca, whose smile had once been the embodiment of pure affection, began to linger over conversations with Alexander. At first, her interactions seemed innocuous. Friendly banter over shared interests, a spark of laughter under the starry sky. But soon, the chemistry between them deepened into something forbidden and electric. In the cool embrace of twilight, when the world around them slumbered under a veil of secrecy, their glances grew heavy with unspoken promises. Every subtle gesture, every lingering look, seemed to hint at a clandestine romance that was blooming beneath the surface of their vacation idyll. Jonathan remained blissfully unaware, his trust in Rebecca anchored by years of shared memories and the comfort of her familiar presence. He busied himself with tasks around the campsite, tending to the fire, setting up tents, and even capturing the beauty of the landscape with his camera. Each moment was filled with the innocent expectation of joy, a picnic by the lake, a night of storytelling under a tapestry of stars, the simple pleasure of living in the moment. Yet, in the background, a sinister undercurrent began to weave its way through the narrative of their vacation. As days passed, Rebecca's secret meetings with Alexander became bolder, their rendezvous timed with the precision of a well-rehearsed play. In the silence of the forest, hidden from the watchful eyes of the world, the pair explored a forbidden intimacy that transcended mere physical desire. Their connection was layered with mystery, a dangerous mixture of passion and betrayal that defied the boundaries of morality. Each stolen moment was both a declaration of freedom and a quiet rebellion against the confines of a love that had grown stale over time. The campsite, once a symbol of shared joy, transformed into a stage for an illicit performance, a dance of seduction and secrecy that would soon have dire consequences. Unbeknownst to Jonathan, the ticking clock of fate was setting the stage for a dramatic revelation. For 5 long days, he remained in the comforting embrace of ignorance, his world bathed in the warm glow of trust and unyielding optimism. But secrets, like shadows, have a way of emerging when the night is darkest. It was on the 6th day, when the first hints of doubt began to pierce the veil of his contentment, that a series of subtle clues started to form a picture too sinister to ignore. The way Rebecca's eyes flickered away when he approached, the hushed whispers that seemed to echo between the trees, and the peculiar absence of her usual radiant energy, all combined to create a tapestry of suspicion that gnawed at his heart. Jonathan's transformation was gradual but unmistakable, a slow burn of inner torment that led him to piece together the fragments of a truth too horrifying to accept. With each passing moment, the calm certainty that had once defined him was replaced by a tumultuous storm of anger, sorrow, and betrayal. The gentle husband he once was had been eroded by the realization that the woman he had loved and cherished was leading a double life, a secret life filled with passion and danger. The discovery was like a slow poison, seeping into his veins, distorting his thoughts, and clouding his judgment with a dark, all-consuming fury. In a fateful confrontation beneath a sky streaked with the bruised hues of dusk, Jonathan finally laid eyes on the evidence of Rebecca's betrayal. The sight of his wife and Alexander entwined in a moment of forbidden intimacy shattered his soul. The world around him faded into a blur as his mind raced with 1,000 conflicting emotions: devastation, disbelief, and a growing, burning need for retribution. In that moment, the idyllic vacation became a nightmare, each heartbeat echoing the sound of his impending doom. The man who had once been the epitome of kindness was now being transformed by the fire of betrayal into something unrecognizable, a creature driven by a single, overwhelming desire for vengeance. What followed was a whirlwind of calculated decisions and desperate actions. Jonathan retreated into the shadows of his shattered mind, meticulously planning a course of action that he convinced himself was justified. In the solitude of his heart, he wrestled with the paradox of his love and the betrayal that had severed the ties of their shared past. The betrayal was not just a betrayal of trust. It was a violation of his very essence, a wound so deep that he believed the only way to heal was to extinguish the source of his torment. With a resolve hardened by anguish, he embarked on a path that would lead him to commit an act so final, so irrevocable, that it would forever stain his soul. Under the cloak of a moonless night, when the only light came from the intermittent flicker of dying embers, Jonathan made his way back to the secluded spot where the illicit affair had taken root. Every step he took was laden with the weight of his determination, each footfall echoing the sound of a heart in torment. The air was thick with an oppressive silence, a silence that seemed to mourn the loss of innocence and bear witness to the inevitability of retribution. In that isolated moment, time itself appeared to slow down, as if the universe were holding its breath in anticipation of the darkness that was about to unfold. The confrontation was as swift as it was brutal. Jonathan, his eyes once filled with love now replaced by a cold, unyielding determination, confronted both Rebecca and Alexander in a manner that defied the gentleness of his former self. The dialogue that ensued was punctuated by the raw intensity of betrayal and the desperate need for justice, as Jonathan's voice trembled with the weight of his anguish. Rebecca, caught in the web of her own making, could only muster feeble protests and attempts at rationalization, while Alexander, the enigmatic stranger, met the onslaught of Jonathan's fury with a mix of defiant silence and regretful resignation. The night air was heavy with the scent of impending doom as Jonathan, blinded by the pain of betrayal, unleashed the full force of his rage in a single, irreversible moment. In an act that would forever define his existence, Jonathan ended the lives of both Rebecca and Alexander with a brutality that was as swift as it was unyielding. The echoes of that fateful act reverberated through the darkened forest, a grim testimony to the lengths a broken heart could be driven. In the immediate aftermath, a surreal calm descended upon the scene, a haunting silence that was as profound as the loss it represented. For a fleeting moment, Jonathan allowed himself the illusion of redemption, a delusional hope that by eliminating the source of his anguish, he might somehow reclaim the peace he once knew. His mind whispered that if he erased the memories of betrayal, he might salvage the remnants of a life that had once been filled with promise. Yet, the universe has a way of balancing even the darkest of deeds. As Jonathan retreated into the labyrinth of his own tortured thoughts, convinced that he had taken control of his destiny, fate began to conspire against him. The perfect illusion of escape was shattered by the relentless persistence of justice. The local authorities, alerted by subtle clues that began to surface in the wake of the tragedy, launched an investigation that would soon uncover the layers of deceit and duplicity that had led to the catastrophic event. Every piece of evidence, every whispered rumor among the quiet townsfolk, pointed to a man whose sorrow had taken a fatal turn. Jonathan's once gentle soul was now marred by the stains of irreversible choices, and the law, in its relentless pursuit of truth, began to close in on him. In the ensuing days, the shadow of suspicion grew ever longer. Jonathan found himself ensnared in a web of his own making, a tapestry of lies and hidden truths that began to unravel in the face of a determined police investigation. The community, once united by the comforting cadence of shared lives, now buzzed with rumors and half-whispered speculations. Each passing moment felt like a countdown to his inevitable downfall, as the gravity of his actions began to crush the fragile illusion of safety he had clung to. His mind, once a sanctuary of love and gentle memories, was now a battleground of conflicting impulses, remorse for what he had done, and a perverse satisfaction in the twisted justice of his own making. As the days morphed into a relentless pursuit by the authorities, Jonathan's world began to crumble. Every shadow seemed to conceal an accusing gaze. Every gust of wind carried whispers of betrayal and retribution. His internal torment grew heavier with each passing hour, and the once vivid images of love and hope were now haunted by the specter of his violent actions. There was a time, buried deep within him, when he believed that love could conquer all, even the most excruciating betrayal. But that time had long since passed, replaced by a cold certainty that some wounds, once inflicted, could never truly be healed. In the eerie solitude of his hiding place, a dilapidated cabin tucked away in the remnants of an overgrown forest, Jonathan wrestled with his conscience and the crushing burden of guilt. The walls, stained with memories of laughter and love, now echoed with the ghosts of his past mistakes. Every creak of the wooden floor, every whisper of the wind through broken panes, served as a reminder of the irreversible act that had stolen his soul. In his isolation, time became an enemy, each moment stretching into an eternity of regret and unfulfilled longing for the innocence that had been lost forever. The investigation, relentless and unyielding, began to piece together the fragments of that dreadful night. Forensic evidence, bolstered by the keen intuition of dedicated detectives, painted a picture of events that no amount of denial or rationalization could alter. The calm, caring husband was unmasked as a man driven to the very edge by betrayal and unrestrained passion. Yet, in his mind, the line between love and hate had blurred until they were indistinguishable, a dangerous amalgamation that had led him down a path from which there was no return. Even as Jonathan's internal struggle reached its crescendo, the world outside his self-imposed prison was steadily closing in. The police, armed with mounting evidence and eyewitness accounts that began to form an inescapable chain, grew more determined by the hour. Every detail, every overlooked nuance of the vacation that once promised escape and renewal now served as a thread in the intricate tapestry of his impending capture. The once beautiful memories of sunlit afternoons and whispered promises were now overshadowed by the dark specter of retribution, a retribution that had been set in motion long before the tragic climax unfolded. In a final, desperate bid to escape the consequences of his actions, Jonathan embarked on a journey that was as much about fleeing from the law as it was about escaping the relentless torment of his own guilt. He moved through shadowed forests, across desolate highways, and through towns where every face seemed to carry a silent accusation. But fate, unyielding and implacable, had already sealed his destiny. In each quiet corner of the land, in every echo of a whispered rumor, there lay the inescapable truth that his past would soon catch up with him. The nights were long and the roads unending, and with each passing mile, the weight of his transgressions pressed harder upon his spirit. Memories of a love that had once been pure and unblemished tormented him relentlessly. Visions of a happier time when laughter echoed through sunlit rooms and promises were made under starry skies. Those memories, now tarnished by betrayal and violence, provided no comfort but only deepened the chasm of despair that had engulfed his soul. His journey became a haunting odyssey through landscapes that mirrored the inner desolation of a man who had lost everything in a single, irreversible moment. And then, as if guided by an inexorable force of destiny, the final confrontation emerged from the depths of night. In a quiet roadside town, with a glow of streetlights fought valiantly against the encroaching darkness, Jonathan was finally cornered by the relentless march of justice. The authorities, having followed the faintest trail of clues that wove through the fabric of his past misdeeds, closed in on him with the precision of a well-orchestrated symphony of retribution. In that tense, heart-stopping moment, every step he had taken, every act of passion and vengeance, converged into the single, crushing realization that there was no escape from the consequences of a broken heart. The arrest was not marked by the explosive dramatics of a cinematic showdown, but by the quiet, inexorable certainty that even the most carefully hidden sins cannot remain buried forever. Jonathan, his eyes haunted by the ghosts of his actions, surrendered to the inevitability of his fate. In that final, somber moment, the soft-spoken, gentle husband who had once believed in the enduring power of love was reduced to a man overwhelmed by the inexorable tide of justice. A man whose choices had carved an irreparable scar upon his soul and left behind a trail of irreversible consequences. The story of Jonathan, Rebecca, and Alexander became a whispered legend, a cautionary tale of love, betrayal, and the haunting price of secrets. In the quiet corners of the town, people would recall the days of that ill-fated vacation with a mixture of sorrow and disbelief, the memory of a once-idyllic escape now forever stained by the dark, irreversible act of retribution. The narrative served as a stark reminder that even the most tender hearts can harbor darkness, and that beneath the veneer of normalcy, the forces of passion and betrayal can unleash a tempest that none can control. As time passed, the investigation left behind layers of unanswered questions, each one a testament to the complexity of human emotion and the often unpredictable consequences of hidden desires. In the echo of every whispered conversation in the town's dimly lit cafes and quiet living rooms, one could sense the lingering presence of that tragic night, a night when a promise of eternal love was shattered by the cruel hand of fate. The authorities, ever vigilant, continued to piece together the intricate mosaic of events, their relentless pursuit a tribute to the inexorable nature of truth and justice. In the quiet solitude of his cell, awaiting the inevitable trial, Jonathan was left to confront the full magnitude of his actions. The silence of the prison walls offered him no solace, only a stark reflection of the shattered fragments of his life. The guilt that had once driven him to the brink of madness now became an inescapable companion, whispering incessantly about the cost of a love betrayed. Every moment was a reminder that the heart, however gentle and kind, can be warped by a single, shattering betrayal, a transformation that led him down a dark path from which there was no return. The story that began on a seemingly innocent vacation had now transformed into a sprawling tapestry of intrigue, passion, and sorrow, a tapestry woven with threads of love and vengeance, trust and deception. It served as a somber meditation on the human condition, on the delicate balance between light and darkness that resides within us all. And while Jonathan's fate was sealed by the weight of his choices, the tale of that fateful summer continued to resonate among those who dared to remember, a haunting reminder that the human heart is capable of both the deepest love and the most profound tragedy. In the end, as the days turned to months and the echoes of that catastrophic night faded into the background of a world that rarely paused to reflect, the story of Jonathan, Rebecca, and Alexander remained an indelible scar upon the collective memory of a community, a cautionary chronicle of how trust, once betrayed, can lead to irrevocable consequences. The legacy of that dark vacation, marked by the clash of tender devotion and bitter retribution, would forever serve as a testament to the fragile nature of love, the unpredictability of fate, and the inescapable truth that even the most gentle souls can be driven to acts of unspeakable darkness when pushed beyond the limits of their own humanity. Thus, as the tale is told and retold by those who witnessed its unfolding in whispers and half-forgotten memories, it continues to captivate the hearts and minds of those who listen. A story that is as timeless as it is tragic, as thrilling as it is heart-wrenching. It is a narrative that challenges us to ponder the true nature of love and loyalty, to question the boundaries of forgiveness and justice, and to understand that in the intricate dance of human relationships, even the most beautiful symphonies can sometimes end in a crescendo of heartbreak and despair. And so, in the hushed tones of twilight, as the stars take their positions in the dark velvet sky, the legend of Jonathan and his once-beloved Rebecca lives on, a tale spun with the threads of passion, betrayal, and the relentless pursuit of retribution. It stands as a chilling reminder that in the realm of the heart, secrets have a way of festering until they consume everything in their path, leaving behind nothing but the bittersweet remnants of what once was, and the inevitable truth that no matter how far one may run, the shadow of the past will always find its way back to reclaim the light. Every listener, drawn into the vortex of this sprawling tale, is left with a lingering question. Can the human heart ever truly escape the consequences of its deepest transgressions? From the silent corridors of memory, where every whispered secret echoes with the weight of regret, the answer remains as elusive and haunting as the night itself.